Hey everybody, so today we're going to make a lentil burger, and you can make lentil burgers, black bean burgers, any beans or pulse will bind together, and you can saute it up. Not going to replace beef, obviously, but it's a really nice substitute when you don't want that heavy meat flavor, and it's filling. It's super healthy. And it's just an all-around great way to use lentils. You can use any colored lentil you like. I happen to be using green lentils. And it's really just a blend of lentils, oatmeal, vegetables, and I threw a pork neck bone and a couple of chili peppers into my lentils while they cooked. And all that blended together is going to make a nice patty. So let's get started. As you are probably familiar by now, I do love to use carrots and onions and celery in almost everything I do. There's also something called the Holy Trinity, which is celery, onions, and peppers. So I'm going to use that for this mix. Because again, I want it to have a little bit of almost like a barbecue flavor. My daughter Emma, I was asking her what flavor profile should I use for my veggie burgers. And she said, oh, barbecue. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it comes out. And that's the nice thing about when you do these, you can change up the flavor profile really any way you want. You could do Asian, you could do Indian, right? You could just leave them plain if you like plain, if you just like the flavor of lentils. And notice too how small and fine I'm dicing my onion. And that's because I want them to melt into my veggie burger. I don't want to have big chunks of onion. And because carrots are harder, I'm going to grate those. Just using my little box grater here. I want to have some texture, but I don't want to have big chunky crunchy bits, because if I do, then when I bite into my burger, the whole thing will fall apart. And I'm going to cut up my little peppers here. And again, I buy these little peppers. You can get them anywhere, but I really like to buy them at Aldi because, number one, they're super fresh. And number two, they're much, much cheaper than at the other stores in the area. So I don't know where they're buying from, but Aldi has some great deals on produce. And most of it is organic, believe it or not. Well, a lot of it is. I won't say most. Here again, I'm going to do a tiny little dice on these because I don't want big chunks to make my burger fall apart. So you can see I used one smallish onion, one medium-ish carrot, and about 3 of those little peppers, or you could say maybe half of a big pepper. And I'm going to put those all together, and I'll sweat those on the stove in a minute here. I'm also going to use some celery, which I already have diced. So I just pulled this off the stove, and as you can see, I didn't cook it too long. Everything still has its shape, but the onions are translucent, the carrots are soft. It's got a nice smell to it. Everything looks gorgeous. So now what I'm going to do is do some combination, and that's where the magic happens. So right in the same pan, like I said, my daughter suggested a barbecue profile, so I'm going to use some Sweet Baby Ray's or whatever barbecue sauce you have handy. So I'm going to try that, and I put in about, I don't know, 3 tablespoons maybe. I'm going to do about a cup of oatmeal. Give that a good stir. And what the oatmeal is going to do is it's going to soak up any extra liquid, and it'll be a binder for your lentils. And then I'm going to add some lentils. I'm going to add a little bit more oatmeal, maybe another half a cup. And then some people like to use breadcrumbs as well. Oh, and another really nice thing, and that was about a quarter of a cup of breadcrumbs. Another really nice thing to put in is walnuts or sunflower seeds, because they give it a super nice texture as well. If you're at all concerned that it's not going to hold together, you can do a tester. And it's fine if you also want to put some of this in the food processor and puree it. That will also help the binding. For seasoning or salt, I'm going to add just a little bit of soy sauce, maybe a tablespoon. And I like soy sauce as opposed to straight salt because it gives it a nice umami flavor, a nice rich meaty flavor. Some people like to finely grind their oats as well. I like mine to be whole because or rolled oats rather, because I like that texture. And you can see as it's sitting, it's getting stickier and stickier. That's because the oats are starting to absorb moisture, open up, and they've got a lot of starch in them, so they'll hold them together, as do the breadcrumbs. You can also use a potato masher, right? Those are helpful too, because they help to break it down some without smushing it to death. So I just did a quick taste. It needs a little bit more salt, so I'm going to go in with some more soy sauce, about another tablespoon. And again, you can add anything you want to with this. I also want it to be just a pinch sweeter, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit of maple sugar. And it's not something most people have kicking around, so you can substitute regular sugar or even brown sugar. And I'm just going to do a teaspoon of that. Fair amount of black pepper, maybe or 2 teaspoons rather. Now that this is all mixed and it's got great flavor, it's got a nice, it's holding together nicely, it's going to patty up beautifully. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it in the fridge for a couple of hours just to let those lentils finish softening up, let everything kind of come together. Then we'll come back, we'll patty it up, we'll fry one up, and we'll taste it and see how it goes. But I can tell you that just tasting this for now, it's delicious and super nutritious, and I guarantee you that people will flock to your vegetarian table. Okay, so we've got our mixture here. It's been sitting in the fridge for a couple of hours now. It's really nice and tight, and it holds its shape really well. So I'm just going to patty it up. We'll get started cooking some of these suckers up. I like to keep them kind of thin, right? I don't want to go too thick because I don't want them to take a long time to cook in the pan. You can go as big as you want, as small as you want. Obviously, if you're doing burgers, I recommend pattying them burger size, bun size. But, you can also serve these just with a salad, with some wild rice, with some regular rice, serve them with mashed potatoes. There's a million things you can do with these guys. So anyway, do these burger size. I'd say that's about 3 or 4 ounces. I'm wearing gloves because I don't want to get it all over my hands. But you don't have to wear gloves because you're going to be cooking it. And I definitely recommend doing a test batch. Make a tiny one. Just take a little bit of the mixture and fry it off with a little bit of olive oil just to test it and see how well it holds up together. We just did one of these. We just did that with one of these, a smaller one. My husband proclaimed it delicious, and so there we go. I do not recommend doing these on the grill at all. They're not something that would hold up on a grill. They're definitely something that needs to be pan-seared with just a little bit of oil, not a lot. You're not deep frying them, that's for sure. You can also cook these and freeze them, and then just reheat them quickly. I've not tried to freeze them and then cook them from frozen. I imagine that you could do that, but they might break down a little bit and not hold up as well. Now remember, there's no egg in this. There's no meat in this. In fact, sometimes people add a mixture like this into their burger meat, and it extends their burger just a bit. So something to think about. All right, so I'm going to take off my gloves. Let's move over to here. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nice batch. So for this, I want to cook them on. I want to get my pan hot, so I'm going to start on a high heat. I'm going to add just enough olive oil to coat the bottom of the pan, and then a tiny bit more. Basically, I want enough oil so that it doesn't stick. If you have a non-stick pan, that's even better. So let's see what we get going on here. Like I say, I want enough olive oil in the bottom of the pan. If you don't have olive oil, use sunflower oil or peanut oil or whatever oil you've got handy. Just vegetable oil is fine. You want to make sure your pan is hot before you go in. And you know that because you can hear it, right? If your pan isn't hot, again, you might have some issues with sticking. Now, the really nice thing about this is that everything in it is cooked. Right? So you're not actually cooking it through, you're not actually cooking it, you're just reheating it at this point and helping to have things hold all together. So as soon as we get some nice color on one side, I'll turn it, and then I'll turn down my heat a little bit so it doesn't get overly brown. And then I'll put it on a bun and I'll eat it. It's really that simple. So when you go for the flip, you want to make sure that you get everything, you want to go in with a short, sharp jab underneath the patty. You don't want to poke at it too much. And again, remember, these aren't actually burgers. So it's going to be pretty easy to break them apart if you want to. Yep, so I'm going to turn down my heat because I don't want them to get any darker than that. But they will have a nice crispy crunch on the outside. See how they got a little too dark on that one. So turn down your heat just so they cook through. They're holding up together nicely. And again, you don't have to have these on a burger bun, right? You can have them as a side for a salad with some rice. Rice and lentils, as with rice and beans, are a complete protein. So if you're looking for nutrition and a well-balanced meal, if you combine rice and lentils, you're going to get that complete protein. So you'll feel really full and like you've eaten a good meal, satiated. So this with a better rice and a nice side salad, boom, you're done. If you're not vegan and you want to go with a little cheese on there, that'll help to hold it together too. So you can go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to pull these two out because I think they're done enough. And they do. They hold up really nicely. So I've got a little piece of a hamburger bun here. And give that a little color and a little crunch while my cheese melts. In fact, I'll even cover this just a bit. Yum. And let's go ahead over and plate. So I've got my patty here, beauty. And then I'm going to put just a tiny bit of caramelized onion on here. Right, and to caramelize onions, you just slice them thin and cook them on a low, slow flame. There's some lettuce and some tomato and the top of my bun here, and that looks just delicious. I don't know, looks good enough to eat. That with a side salad, maybe some homemade French fries. I would definitely be all over that. Thanks so much. Have a great day.